Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. You are with Renee, of course, and today we're going to work on and try to finish the bubbles and the wings on this wonderful Selina Fenech fairy out of her grayscale fairies. Yesterday we did this side and did the light side of the fairy. As you can see over here, the bubbles and the fairy's wings are a lot darker than on this side. So I have chosen comparable to the light. These are the light pastel-y colors that we used over here, and these are just a step above. So as you can see, let's turn off that light there so you can see a little bit better. I have done this bubble with the darker colors, and if you can see, well, maybe the light helps you see the lighter on this side. So we're going to do this side and these darker bubbles and the darker sides of these bubbles with these darker pencils. Of course, these are the Holbein colored pencils, and you can purchase those now on Blick's website. So, and of course, I will leave that link down in the description below. So you can also purchase these wonderful, wonderful pencils because they are fantastic. But today we're just going to add some color to these wonderful wings. I'm going to switch you on over to the other side here. So as you can see, I've already finished this one here, and I've actually coated it as well. So I've gone through and I've added the purples, some blues, some greens. Let's turn that off. So turning that off is not a help. Trying to keep the glare off of it for you. So I've added some purples and some greens and some pinks and a couple of bits of yellow, different swirls of different colors in the bubble there. And we're going to do the same thing on the wings. Sorry, I just noticed that one of my nails is dirty. I must have been gotten coffee grounds under it from when I made coffee. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the darkest areas of the wings, and we're going to choose the darkest color. Now, the darkest color that I have in this grouping, of course, is the greens and the purples. The purple is a really dark color, but so is the green. And as you can see, there's bubbles in behind here as well. So try to stick with the colors that the bubbles are showing behind you here. So this one has the purple coming in here. So try not to do green there, put a purple there. And I'm trying really hard not to cover up the picture with my hand for you. So this bubble comes in, so we're going to add the purple here for where that bubble comes in. And I will go back through later on with a dark pencil and just trace those bubble areas. See, this one here comes down and around. So this area here would have some of that cream. This area here would have some of that purple. So you're just trying to not put too much of the same color in, just enough that you can see that that bubble is behind it. Or you can just go with the fact that, you know, sometimes these wings aren't, especially when it's dark, you can't really see what's behind them. So just going to put in a little bit more green there, put in some blues. And as you can see, it goes from dark to medium lightness here. And of course, the white areas is a very white or light color, or the light shining off the translucency of the wing. So we're going to take this creamy color and just go into some of that white. And of course, if you cover up the white, that's perfectly fine too. You can go back through later on and add your light sources as well. Now you'll see as you add the colors, if you go too light on those dark areas, like if I was to use the pastel, really pastel-y colors that we used on the other side, on these dark areas, it would show too much of the black through it, and it just wouldn't look like the color that you want it to look like. So try to stick to the darker colors on the darker areas. Now, I had a question asked of me yesterday of when you reference looking at the original artist website for reference colors. And what do you mean by that? So what I mean by that is when you look at a grayscale, that grayscale is a rendition of a colored or painted picture that artist has done. On their website, like for example on Selina's website, you can find the colored or painted picture, the original. So you can take a look and see what colors she's used in the darker areas to determine what colors you want to use in those areas. Like if she's used a red, maybe go with a dark color like a red or an orange. You know, if she's used a yellow, you know, go with pinks or light blues, you know, things like that. Most of the time, that's what I do if I don't know what a color is that she's used and it's really, really dark, or if the grayscale has taken the definition, because sometimes a grayscale can take the definition out of a page depending upon how dark that grayscale is. So if you find that your grayscale page is extremely dark and you can't see that definition anymore, for example, here in her hair, you know, there's things going around her buns, and then it comes down here in her hair. If I didn't look it up, I wouldn't have known that was there, and I would have colored it in the same color as her hair. Now I'm going to take some liquid pearls and fill that in as a part of her hair dressings instead of the colors of her hair. And that sort of thing. It just gives you an idea of different definition things. So if you're finding that you can't really see what something is, it's a lot easier to see what it is already colored than looking at it in a black and white grayscale. And that's one thing that I have noticed with a lot of grayscales, even ones that are toned down quite a bit and are, if they are pictures that have already been colored, that type of grayscale, sometimes putting it into a grayscale removes that definition, and it makes it really hard to see what what smaller objects are, until you start adding the color back in. So if you can take a look at the artist's website, it does give you a really good idea of what the colors are that the artist used in those areas, and of course, what the object is. You know, if you have a question about what an object is in a grayscale, definitely go and take a look at the artist's colored rendition of it. There was another thing that I was going to talk to you guys about. Oh, this is Work in Progress Wednesday, and normally on Work in Progress Wednesday, I do a live stream, and of course today I am not. I'm doing a recording, and the reason for that is it is really, really, really stormy out, And I'm a little bit concerned that I'm going to lose power and that sort of thing, lose internet. So I didn't want to do that while I'm in the middle of a live stream. So I am doing it as a recording instead. Now I know that this area here is a light area and will probably require some white. Um, so when I go through with my gel pen, my white gel pen, I will add some white in there. I just want a little bit of color underneath that white, just because the area is fairly small and dark. But as you can see, as you get further down the wing here, closer towards that light source, the wings get lighter. So, and I'm moving it out of view. So I'm going to move you a little bit here. There you go. Try to keep everything in view for you. All right. So down here, as you can see, the wing area is fairly light going into a dark. So let's take a lighter color down here, and we'll use this peachy color and this light greeny blue color. And of course, like I said, you can do this any color that you want in any order that you want. This is just me randomly putting down colors to make it look like a bubble. There is no right or wrong way of doing this, absolutely. Any way that you decide that you like it and the way that you want to do it, of course, do it. You know, it's your art, it's your vision. Don't get too technical with it. Just enjoy it and enjoy the beauty that you're creating. I have a lot of troubles with that sometimes if things don't go the way my mind sees it going. I have a tendency to get down on myself and throw it out. And I am slowly but surely learning that not everything goes exactly the same way that your brain sees it. Sometimes the color wants to lay down differently. Sometimes the color doesn't want to lay down at all. And those are the days where you just have to work with it and let the page tell you what it's going to do. Don't worry too much about what you're doing. Worry more about, you know, what the page is telling you it wants to do. And sometimes the depending upon the paper of the book, depending upon a lot of different factors, is, you know, basically what tells you what pencils you're going to use, what mediums you're going to use. If you have a really toothy paper, use a pencil that is going to require a lot of layering. You know, use a pencil that is going to give you the ability to layer quite a bit of color on there. Otherwise, you're going to end up, you know, knocking the tooth of the paper down and just ending up with a lot of white spot everywhere, which is perfectly fine. I personally hate white spot. It drives me crazy. And that's probably why I have so many different sets of pencils, because each different set of pencils will work on different papers. I have not yet found a pencil that works on everything. I have tried, obviously, but I have yet to find a pencil that works for every type of paper. You know, and at this point, I'm no longer looking too hard, of course, but I do try different pencils on coloring books. I use different pencils on the cardstock and that sort of thing. And I try to make sure that every pencil that I buy or that is bought for me is shown on its best paper. So, like for example, the Holbeins here work really, really well on cardstock, beautifully on cardstock. They work pretty good on really smooth coloring book paper, like for example, Christine Caron. Her coloring book paper is so smooth and so lovely that most of the pencils I have work beautifully on it. Some are not able to be layered well on it, but if you're just doing a straight color where you're not going to be adding layers, you're just going to be going from one color to the next without blending them too much together or layering thick layers of color on it of different pencils. But that paper, oh my goodness, I just love her paper. The other update that I was going to tell you about is on my Derwent pencils. When I did my unboxing of my Derwent pencils, I showed you all a bunch of defects that were in my pencils, and I have contacted Derwent, and they are in fact sending me a new set of pencils because that is not their normal preferred way for the pencils to look. So they have corrected that issue and are sending me a new set of pencils to replace those. So hopefully that new set doesn't have the same fracturing, I guess you'd call it. Yucky is what I call it. Look to the pencils where if you sharpen them, they're falling apart and that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. I was quite impressed with that. I wanted to know the best way to deal with that, and because it was a gift, and I really didn't want to tell my husband, okay, these are really expensive high-end pencils and they're falling apart, because who wants to tell somebody that just gave you a gift that, you know, I know it's my husband and he would have surely understood and sent them back to Amazon, but I really didn't want to tell him that, you know, one of the biggest gifts he bought for me, one of the most expensive gifts he bought for me, was, what's the best way to put it? Not the best quality for that company, I guess would be the best way to put that, because the Derwent pencils aren't crap. It's quite literally a problem with that run's wood. So I need to sharpen my purple because I've dulled it. So just give me a second. Get my pencil sharpener to work here. All right. So we're down into these smaller areas here of the wings. So try not to put too much purple against where her sleeves are, because I don't want it to blend into her wings, because, you know, that's her clothes. So we're going to put this green down there, and I'm going to sharpen it too because it's gone a little blunt. And I bet every single one of you is sitting there going, oh my God, she just sharpened that with one of those sharpeners that eats the pencils. And yes, I did. I can't sharpen them with the little handheld sharpeners. They just don't sharpen. They sharpen very nastily, and it's not the sharpener, it's me. It has absolutely nothing to do with the sharpener itself, because I can sharpen almost any pencil with the electric sharpener or the little hand crank sharpener. So it is definitely a me problem. All right, so I'm just going to finish up this wing here, this part of the wing here. Now I'm going into a cream area here and a pink area here on the other bubble. So I'm just bringing some of that pink into that green area that I just covered to show the colors from underneath as well. And then this one is really light, so we're just going to add cream and maybe some of that powder blue, that baby blue. And of course the edge is a purple, so we'll put in a little bit of purple there as well. For that edge where the purple is on the other bubble. And then we have our wings. And we're gonna, so the wings are completed the same way that the bubble is. Let's see if I can, no, that's still not helping you any. So I'm going to switch you over to the other camera here. Like I said, it's really dark and cloudy here. And this camera picks up a lot of light from my kitchen, which is on this side of the page, and it's washing this out. However, you can see on this side of the page the darker colors for those wings. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the same colors, just a shade darker, because we're moving from a light area into a dark area on the page. The bubbles in the white area here I've done with that lighter coloring, the same as the wing there. And up here into this light area right there. Now I'm going to do this area here because of all the darkness on this area in a darker coloring on those bubbles as well as this bubble. However, this bubble I'm going to also blend in some of that lighter areas here because there's a shadow from her sitting on the bubble. So the darker areas are going to come right underneath where her shadow is. But some of the areas are going to, like up and through here, I'm going to use those pastel colors because the light's shining through this bubble. So that's the next one we're going to work on, is this one that she's sitting on. So we're going to take this darker color, the green, and we're going to bring it down under where she's sitting. And we're going to do these really dark areas of the bubble with the darker colors. And then as we get into these lighter areas of the bubble, we'll switch over to the other lighter colors, the more pastel colors. And these are still pretty pastel-y colors. They're just a shade darker than the original pastel colors that I started with. And all I'm doing here is I'm just following the lines of the grayscale. Now, if you're doing this on a line art, follow the lines of your bubble and work your way from the edge of the bubble into the center of the bubble. The center of the bubble should be white. Try not to get too much color in the center of the bubble. Make sure that you leave areas of white around the bubble for light source, because when you look at a bubble, there's always a light reflector or a light show on that bubble. If you have troubles with uh, knowing where to put that light source and whatnot, go to your sink and get a bit of the dish soap and a little bit of water. And when you put the water in the dish soap, stir it around a little bit and take a look at the bubbles that form and see where those bubbles lay, where those light sources lay. Or blow a bubble and take a look at it. It will tell you a lot of information on where those colors should be and where those light areas should be. So up in here is where her dress is in the back of the bubble, and up in here is this part, the front part of the bubble. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually going over areas of her dress with the color, because this is the front area of the bubble that we're looking at. And we want the dress to show through because bubbles are see-through, but we still want to give that bubble the color on the front. So I'll switch you over to the other camera so you can see better what I'm doing. And we'll turn that light back on. So as you can see in her dress here, I've added some green, I've added a bit of pink. You know, we can go with the lighter purple and just bring it down into the area under her dress and try to give it a bit of a swirl effect. You know, follow the lines of the bubble. And that will help you out with knowing what areas around the edges of the bubble is usually darker than the center of the bubble. So sometimes you get a white edge with a really pretty swirling all the way through the bubble. It all depends upon what kind of bubble it is too. Sometimes you get a crystal clear bubble. Like I said, it all depends on what kind of bubble it is and what kind of material it's made out of. So like if it's a oil-based bubble, it is going to have more oil colors in it, which is more of the purples and pinks and greens and that sort of thing. If it's like a soap bubble, we'll have those colors in it. And I'm going to move you back a little bit because you're too close and not able to see what I'm doing. There you go. Turn that up a bit, and then we'll pull it down a little bit. There you go. I hope that helps, and I'm not just talking nonsense, because I do that sometimes. Sometimes I make absolutely no sense whatsoever to myself. So if I'm not making sense to you, of course, let me know. And of course, you can do that by leaving a comment. Okay, so we've gotten the darker areas of this bubble done. So we're going to put these pencils down and we're going to pick up our lighter pastel pencils. Now I'm going to take the lightest blue and I'm just going to start in to that darker blue and bring it out with the lighter blue. And just going to bring it out into that bubble space there. Same with the light purple. Over here, we're just going to bring that out into that space. And I'm not doing it in any sort of cohesive motion. It's just splotches of color brought into the space. So again, from that pink into the lighter pink, and just going to bring that color down into the space. And then we have a bit more purple there. And I'm going into the darker purple, blending that together so that it comes down from and transitions into that lighter purple. Now I am trying to make sure that I give it a curve, not just a straight line, because bubbles are curved. Same with the green here. Just going to bring it in and follow that curve of the line that we were giving it on the top area, and following the line of the purple. Here as well. And giving that bit of color coming down from underneath her as well as behind her. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually going over the dress areas that are in the back of the bubble and bringing that tone, that color down a little bit, so that when you look at it, it just looks like a shadowing or a shading from the back of her dress that's hanging down the back of the bubble. And it helps bring the eye to the front of the bubble, which is where we want it to be. Now I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to join into that light pink with a lighter pink, almost a yellow tone. And of course, once you blend this all together and that sort of thing, it will make a lot more sense on the coloring and the swirl that you're putting through there. I'm taking a little bit of that pink and I'm just going up into the purple a little bit. And then on this side, I'm going to take this blue. Try to stick with colors that will blend well together and not make a mud color. We're just going to take some of this blue and add it into that purple. and go down into this blue. And once we get to this blue, just bring it out a little bit with that lighter blue. Combine it into the darker blue so that it transitions properly for you. And then up there we've got the green, so we're going to take this green, nope, this green, and we're just going to transition that green down into here, and then into that blue a bit. And then we're going to take this other green, and we're going to, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn this on you. We're just going to transition that together into both the green and the blue. And try to follow your, like on this one, it gives you the lines that you're following. Try to follow those lines. Okay, so there's another line of color there, and then it goes into the round area there. So let's take our pink, because we haven't used quite a lot of pink. So we'll take our pink and we'll fill in that curve in that line there, because it is a fairly light one, but not a really, really light one. And we'll connect those two colors. And then we'll take our creamy color here and we'll just connect it to everything else in this light area. So I'm just going in through the lighter area here, and I'll go back through and I'll add a bit of color to that darker area there. Same with up here. We're just going to add this light color to the area here. Join it together with this coloring there. And then we'll add a little bit of purple. And I'm just very, very lightly covering the grayscale with this. I don't want it to be extremely dark, but I don't want it to be too light either. Make sure that you transition that together. If it's not transitioning well with your darker pencil, which it may not, of course, just go over it with your lighter pencil to transition those two colors together. Or use your blender pencil. You can also do that. And we're going to take, I think, green to transition into that blue. On this side. Like I said, if you find that your darker colors aren't transitioning, just take your lighter color and transition them together. Another way that you can avoid that transitioning problem, of course, is by using the extender. So what you do is when you color an area, color out past the area that you want to be in with the color, and then go over it with the lighter color. and blend those two little transition areas together. So I need this one to transition that together. And I'm just going to add a little bit out here and add a little bit of pink. And like I said, it's very random. It's just filling in the areas so that it looks like a very colorful bubble. If you don't like the way it looks, just keep adding color. It will look pretty sooner or later. I'm just going to go up in here and cover her dress a little bit more. I'm going to use a bit more of this yellowy color. And I'm just covering the back of her dress. Make sure that you don't cover the front of her dress. Now I have done her dress in a marker. I did the dress in the marker with the marker base. And that's why that color is so dark, is because I've used a marker base. If I used a pencil base on that, it may not be as dark as it is. But because I used a marker base on it, that's why it is as dark as it is. Okay. Alrighty, so that is our big bubble done. I've still got to go over it with white, of course. And there are a couple of spots where I think it needs just a touch more color. Just to transition into that white a little bit more. And of course we will change anything that we need to change later. And I'm just going to take a little bit of pink maybe. I think this edge is too harsh. Needs just a bit of softening. There we go. Same with up here under her foot. I think that's an edge that's a little bit too harsh for my liking, so we're just going to soften it a bit. And so we've completed the wings and two of the bubbles. Now we're going to move on to this bubble down here. And we're going to move you a little bit, sorry. So we're going to work on this bubble. Now this bubble is fairly small, so it's only going to require a few colors. And it's a very dark bubble, so we're going to go back to our dark colors for this one, because the lighter colors will just wash it out a bit, and we want it to be a little bit more vibrant than that. So I'm just going around it with the darker purple into those really, really, really dark area where those really dark lines are. And then we'll take the green and we'll go into the purple a little bit and go into those medium darkness areas. Now, with the smaller bubbles, you will find that a lot of smaller bubbles do have color all the way through them except for their highlight areas. So if you have a smaller bubble that has little swirls of pinks and purples and blues and greens all the way through it, that's perfectly fine too. You can actually color an entire bubble one color and just leave it be. That is also perfectly fine. Now this one here, just by the shading on it, tells me that it is mostly colored. There are different light source shadings, but other than that, the color goes almost right through the whole bubble. So, of course, keep your lighter colors for the center because that center will always be lighter, but you can, of course, cover an entire bubble with color. So now we're going to do this one, and then we have one more bubble, and that will be it for today. Easy peasy. And of course, once again, do the dark colors into the dark area of the bubble. And of course, I will finish this up, and once it is all finished and I do the background and whatnot, I will, of course, post it on our Facebook group. And yes, we do have a Facebook group. So if you want to join us on Facebook, you can, of course, do that. Just hit the link that is in the About section of this video, and we will be happy to bring you on in as long as you fill out the application form. The application form has 3 little questions on it. It's very simple. I really, really, really need you to do that. The reason for the application form is to maintain a safe and secure environment for our members without any scams or advertisement blasting in their faces. So please do remember to fill that out. I really, 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 really would appreciate it. Unfortunately, we don't accept too many applications that don't fill that out. I will do research and check you out and whatnot if you don't fill that out, just so that I can verify that you're not somebody that is going to start bombarding my group with advertisements and spam. All right, that one's done. Now, one of the things that you can do, especially if you find there's a bit of white spot, and this one here, for some reason, I don't know why this bubble did it and no other bubble did, but this one here has some white spot in it. So you can take this is a Caran d'Ache blender pencil. And of course, you can do this with any blender pencil. Just blend that out and try to cover up that white spot and drag that color into the white spots. Don't drag the color into the white spots you want to be white, but drag the color into the white spots that you don't want to be white. All right, so that's bubble number 3. And then there's one more way up here that we're going to take care of as well. Now this one here has a couple of little things to it. It's dark on this side, really light in the center because of the light source that's coming this way, and dark up into this area. So we're going to use the purples for that part of that dark area, but we're also going to use this green because this green is a nice dark green as well. And I don't want to put too much purple into what I'm doing. And I've been putting a lot of purple in there, just purple. So as you get into the lighter areas, grab your lighter colored pencil. So grab your pink or your lighter green or anything like that, and just go in and fill in that lighter tone there, because that light source is washing out that color. Now, of course, this bubble does go through. So one thing that I'm not sure about with this, because of the fact that the bubbles aren't really going all the way through, is whether or not I want to draw those lines in and make them go all the way through, or if I just want to leave them alone and have them just be bubbles behind her wings. Now, with her wings being bubble wings, kind of want them to go all the way through, don't I? See, I answer my own questions as I'm talking. So what I will probably do is I will probably trace over the black areas and bring those together so that, it's showing the lines of the bubbles through the wings. All right, I'm going to switch you back over to the other camera. Turn off this light so you can actually see, and tip you over this way so maybe you can see the colors in those other bubbles there, which you can't. So as you probably remember from yesterday, over here is the lighter bubbles. Today we've done all the really dark bubbles and added the light sources and that sort of thing to the bubbles. I will afterwards go through and do the background, which I'm going to do in a pan pastel, and add all of the accents and all that fun stuff. And I will post this picture on our Facebook group as a completed picture for Work in Progress Wednesday. And I hope that for all of you that have colored with me, that I would be happy to view your pictures. Of course, you can post them on our Facebook page. If you're not on our Facebook page, I'm sorry, I don't have any other way of viewing them. Of course, you can hit the email link. It will send me an email that is on my main page on my banner. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Um, ring the bell, because of course I do put out a new video every day, and except for Sundays. Sundays are a special day. Either I'm doing family stuff, or if I have really special things that just can't wait, I'll put them up on Sunday, like the Christmas party and special guests and stuff like that will go up on Sundays. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to help out the channel at all, of course, you can do that through PayPal. There is a PayPal link there. All funds in that PayPal account go directly to the channel, whether it be for contest, shipping, as well as purchasing different things to show you, trending things that aren't on my list but should be, or just to give you the heads up on a new item that is out for sale. When I do have items that I come across, such as the books yesterday, yesterday I went through a part of my Christmas coloring book haul and found that one of the coloring books in my Christmas gifts was a fake. It was a counterfeit book. They were not allowed to print that book, and it is now on its way back to Amazon. After contacting the company, another thing that I did not realize while going through the books is they're not all just Grimm Fairy Tales. Grimm Fairy Tales is the name of a comic book that they have put out, and they are different artworks throughout those comic books, which is another really cool aspect of those books. So one of these color alongs and color, probably on Saturday's color along, maybe for Valentine's Day, we might even work on one of those. So, other than that, I thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you all have a fantastic day. Of course, tomorrow will be Thankful Thursday, and we will be going through any mail that I may have received over the week and saying thank you very much to everyone that's ever sent me anything. If you want to send me a gift or just want to take a look and get yourself all encouraged and enabled, take a look at my Amazon wish list, and I've got all sorts of colorful, wonderful things on there. So if you want to just enable yourself and see what the things I'm buying, of course, take a look. If you want to buy me something, you can definitely do that. Of course, that is not a necessity or a mandatory thing. Um, Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. You all have a fantastic day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.